Good morning. It's Saturday morning and this is almost live. I'm gonna finish this video and then post it, so it'll be pretty close to real time. Got a couple of thoughts and ideas, update everybody on what I'm doing with my business and my shop and my trailer, and most important, the YouTube channel. Big project. I have sold the awesome rolling toolbox, as everybody knows. And this is it. This is the model of it, almost. It's not quite what I built in the shop, but it's very close. And this model has been up for download, free download, anybody who wants it. We really want a set of buildable plans. So I have finally decided to begin that project. And so it's not a matter of just saying, here is a set of plans. There's quite a bit of work and a challenge. So first challenge was people are going to have different trailers, going to have different tools. So I've decided to set those aside and work on the awesome rolling toolbox, the exact toolbox that there are 50 plus videos on, that I documented the build of it from beginning to end. So that is the plan I'm going to work on now. What I need to do to this though is, again, I built this real time, and there are videos for you to go back and watch them all. There's a playlist. This model isn't quite what I built, so I need to go in and make some adjustments. This nose cabinet, for example, this was my SketchUp concept. I still think it's kind of a cool concept. I almost forgot about it, but I built a cabinet that ended up being much more functional and better use of space. So I need to rebuild that. And this cabinet here ended up being a little wider, I think, and it's split. So there was a hanging closet, brooms and things like that could go in. And then these shelves there's a few more of them. And instead of just being adjustable shelves, they were adjustable and pull out. So I need to do that. There was one big kind of, I wouldn't call it a glitch, but I did these bottom of the drawers thinner. I think I designed them in here for 1/4 inch, which would work fine for durability. It's not a durability issue. I ended up building them with 3/8 in the shop. I discovered one minor or major, depending on what you're doing, flaw in it. This little detent on the bottom, this is in the side of the cabinet. I put a screw in here, a 1/2 inch long screw with a big head. And what happens is you're able to, with this extra space in the dado, you're able to lift the drawer. That screw head comes out of that notch and you can pull it out. And with the 3/8 plywood, because it's over on the edge here, the tip sticks through. So I need to go back to 1/2 inch, and then I am going to have to make these dados bigger to deal with the 1/2 inch. So that is every single drawer and every single cabinet side. So I'm going to take this thing apart and redo all of those, and also go through and look for any other details that I may want to adjust. So it will be the real world one with corrections, and if I see a couple things that would just refine it a little bit, because I got a couple of years in the field using it, although it was, for me, near perfection and I still miss it. See all the parts and pieces laid out? Well, I need to do that, and then that gets me started on getting ready for plans, because I have to have all the parts to show dimensions and how to build it. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this and go like that, go delete. That is what I'm working on. It's not going to happen overnight, but once the plans are done, I'm going to make them available, just like the workbench plans. Keep your eyes out for a video. I'll probably do a few interim videos of me actually working on this and show you how it's coming out. But when the plans are actually done, ready to be downloaded and printed, I'll do a video and introduce them. And of course, the build series of videos, which usually comes after the plans, is already done. It's already there. You can watch it anytime. Another project I want to jump into and get done is I want to build an adjustable dado jig for my router in the shop. So I want to design one and build it, and it's kind of getting ahead because of all of these dados that I do for all of these adjustable cubbies and these drawer sides. This isn't one of those unique tools in my head. This is one of those common knowledge tools. There's lots of versions out there, so I'm not going to reinvent the wheel, but I want to make one, spend a little more time on it, make a good quality one that's adjustable so that I can make dados of whatever specific size. I can take a caliper and measure the wood that I am going to fit in the dado, and then I can adjust it to be exactly that. And the way they work is you don't have to have a specific size cutter. So a little time invested in a good dado jig, then you can take pretty much any size cutter and make any size dado. So you can take a 1/4 inch high quality upcut spiral carbide bit that you might pay for a real high quality one like a Viper or something. You may pay $30, $40, $50 for, and then you can use that 1/4 inch to make 3/4 inch. And if you use plywood the way I do, you know that plywood is not exactly 3/4 inch. It's a little bit under. So you just scale it and then you can make those tight fitting dados. I'm going to click on that little open box right there. It says 3D Warehouse. I'm going to click on that. Gets me to this wonderful world of SketchUp and all of these models. Right off the bat, you can see what I'm talking about. There's just, a bunch of them. Just click on this one. And this is right up, this one done by, give credit, by Woodchuck. This is where your cutter rides. Now this style, you use a flush cut bit. Those are the bits that the bearing or the collar on the top, it's a spinning bearing, is the exact size of the cutter. And so when you make these, one of your first cuts is to actually cut, fabricate this and then use it to cut. And then by adjusting this panel here, and the router rides on top of this and the collar rides inside the dado, you can simply make this spacing right here, whatever space you want by adjusting it, and then just run your cut. You cut one side and the other, and that's how you can cut a wider cut than your blade. In my detail of these dados, these slots, they're uniform, 2 inches apart. These are, I think, 3 inches apart. I want to be able to cut one, move it, index it off the last cut and cut another one, and then move it, and then I can quickly move through. And so I'm going to do a little bit of a hybrid, I think. So you've got the edge here, which squares it. Of course, you make it as long as you need. This way, you want it good and wide, because the longer you go, you don't want little thin rails. The router rides on this, but also you don't want these deflecting when you're pushing through. You don't want them, if you got a narrow strip, it can deflect and then throws your dado off. You want a nice, precise cut. But I want to put an edge right along here that will drop into the previous dado. The downside to that is I want it to lock in and not move. And if I'm making the dado section adjustable, then I'll have different width dados. And so if I'm doing a 3/8 and then I jump into a 3/4, that rail that I build, if I make it 3/8 to fit tightly in a 3/8, when I go into 3/4, then it will have the possibility of moving. Now, there's a couple of ways around that. One, I could make it the narrowest. Say I'm going to cut down to 3/16, so I could make a 3/16 rail, attach that firmly with glue, a nice material that won't break, and then I could take it, put it in the previous dado if it's larger, push it up tight or back tight depending on the layout I'm going for, and then clamp it in place, make it removable so that I could use this when I don't need that spacing and I just need dados. And I'll need to do that anyway, because there'll be times I just want to make dados out in the field and that lip would get in the way. So that's got to be removable, but I could also use that to my advantage and remove it when I don't need it and have different size ones for the spacing. So there's a couple of ways. I got to work that out, but I need to do that because I'm going to have a lot of this stuff to cut. And also, if I do that, I'll probably put my model up on the SketchUp warehouse so that you guys that are going to build some of this stuff for either for your shop, your van, or your trailer, you know, it'd be a tool. Obviously, the time invested in the tool to make all this stuff, it's going to be a no-brainer. One video a day challenge. Right now, my challenge was through the end of 2016, and then decide if one video a day was worth it, or if I'm going to drop back to one video a week, or maybe 2 videos a week, maybe a weekend video and a midweek video. This idea of vlogging has come up, and I've gotten a lot of positive comments that some of you folks out there enjoy seeing some of the other things and finding out about what else is going on. Others have said, I come here for woodworking and I don't want to hear about that crap. The woodworking channel has sort of reached a plateau. As I've expanded the content, the subscriber base has increased. Now I've lost a lot more. Y'all, you know, any YouTuber will tell you, you lose subscribers, you gain subscribers. It just happens. Sometimes people just found what they needed and they're done with it. Some of them, they got bored with you. You know, others just, you know, for whatever reason, they unsubscribe. And then new people come along and subscribe. And my net has grown. So as I've done some more vlogging, I've brought on more subscribers, but I've also lost more. The net, though, has been an increase in subscribers. Not substantially, but it is an increase. And the same with the views. At this point, I've got one channel and I want to expand the content beyond strictly woodworking. And I want to talk about photography, my other great passion, right along with woodworking. And then the videography, the things around, you know, maybe some equipment like, you know, what do I shoot, you know, the videos in the shop with, vlogging with, my new little GoPro Hero 5, which is fantastic. The lenses and stuff. I was out last night shooting a basketball game. My granddaughter has played basketball since about 2nd grade. She's now in high school. And I have been shooting her games as well as my grandson's games for many, many years. Wildlife photography, you can see this big guy here. That isn't a prop. That is there because right outside my window over here is a big yard that I keep birdseed and plantings and photograph an immense variety of birds right through the window. And I've got a flash set up on it so that later in the day when the hummingbirds are in close, I can have a completely blacked out exterior and light the birds. So there's a lot of fun. And of course, it's set up, it clips right off of that, and it you know, the tripod collapses down, and I carry them 2 hands out the door, put them in the car, and then go photograph. This time of year, the trumpeters, and I'll be doing that. The trumpeter swans, I'll be doing that today. So there's a lot of things going on. So I jumped over to another YouTube channel that this kind of obscure guy started at the same time that I started this YouTube channel on woodworking. And his name is Ron Paulk. So I started this photography, Paulk Photography channel, and this video was back in 2011. So about the same time that the very first Paulk Workbench. And this was my interest in what drew me to YouTube. But the Paulk Workbench just took me over, and I had to respond to the demands. 2 videos, and 3 years ago was the last video I did. And you can see that it's got 37,000 views. So there's some popularity there. But I haven't paid attention to it because I've been so busy over here at this channel. And I've been thinking about, do I combine them, my other interests as well as my woodworking, and have some diversity? Maybe I use the titling so that a woodworker could subscribe. And if he's not interested in photography, if he sees, you know, whatever I use in the titling and I'm not interested in that one, not watch it. Talking to other YouTubers, they have this same issue. Do I add another channel or a 3rd channel, 4th channel? But it gets hard to mine them all, and maybe like this channel, one gets forgotten about. So if I get over and get really busy with my photography videos, then the woodworking might start to slip, and then all of a sudden a month goes by, 2 months go by, and in this case 3 years go by, and I don't do a video, and then, you know, sort of collapses from inattention. And if I keep them in one, then I'm back and forth, and because that's my real life. I mean, that's what I'm doing every day. I'm working, on contracting, woodworking down in my shop, these ideas on the trailers, out photographing birds, researching photographic and video equipment, because to make these videos about woodworking or about photography, I've got to have equipment to do that. So I'm spending time. That's part of who I am and what I do. So this has been a long and rambling Saturday morning. I cherish your feedback, your comments. If you have any ideas, even if you disagree with whether I should split the channel or whether I should keep it combined and expand the channel, I'd love your feedback and tell me what you think. And I know that some are going to hate it and some are going to love it, and I'm going to have to make my own decision ultimately. Enough of this. Turn off your computer, get down to the shop and make some sawdust, or grab your camera and get out and take some pictures. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Have a great day.